Hey everybody, Chad Wesley Smith here for JTSStrength.com. Just answering some questions that I got through Facebook. Make sure you guys go over on the Facebook and like our page, Juggernaut Training Systems page. Trying to get up to 10,000 likes. Hopefully by the time you watch this, we'll be past that. But got a question from Brett Butler. Brett asks, what are your views in upper body lifting with throwing athletes, quarterbacks, pitchers, baseball players, javelin throwers? So he has that question, and then a second question are speed and agility do's and do nots for training young athletes. So first off, dealing with the overhead athletes and their upper body lifting. You know, a lot of people will say, upper body athlete or overhead athlete, there's no reason for them to bench press, or they shouldn't bench press. You can YouTube plenty of videos of Taro Pitkamaki and Andres Torkelson, two of the best javelin throwers in the world, and they're benching very heavy and doing overhead lifting. So to say, that it doesn't have a benefit, go tell that to these 90-meter javelin throwers. With that being said, if you have an athlete with a pre-existing shoulder issue, he probably doesn't need to barbell bench press. But if he doesn't have a pre-existing shoulder injury, and you're a good coach and can teach him how to bench right and program it right, there's no reason that he should be able to why he should develop a shoulder issue from that. But if he does have a pre-existing shoulder issue, you have access to something like a Swiss bar or a football bar, a neutral grip bar. That's a really good option. I think all kinds of different weighted push-up variations are really good. They'll allow more the scapula to be a little bit more free and mobile. Athletes will be able to kind of find just a comfortable hand position, comfortable angle with their elbows, and you can load those up heavy. Whether that's putting weight vests on them, weight on their back with a dumbbell or plates, or a really good one is if you have a low cable hookup. If you take two incline benches, and so if my low cable hookup was right here, I have an incline bench right here, incline bench right here. So the hands are going to be on the incline benches, and then attach the low cable to the athlete with a belt. Belt squat belt works great. You can kind of just put it around the middle of their back, and then you load the weight up on the pulley. That's a great way to load up upper body pressing exercise for an athlete. I'm not going to advocate overhead lifting for an overhead athlete. I just don't think it's necessary. And definitely not worth the potential risk. They can and should definitely go heavy on different kind of push-up variations, dumbbell press variations, and pullovers. Pullovers are that's our primary upper body exercise for most of our quarterbacks or pitchers. Our pullover variations, and I mentioned the javelin throwers earlier. I think track and field is the best sport to look at for the training, the best trained athletes, and they're training absolutes of physical performance. And Jan Zelezny, who's the world record holder in the javelin, is like a 5'9", 175-pound guy that threw the javelin 98 meters. By far the best in the world ever. And they said that Jan Zelezny could do pullovers with 140 kilos. It's 308 pounds. So imagine the special strength that he had developed to do a double body weight pullover. And I trained sometimes with a guy named Sean Fury, who was an Olympian last year in the javelin, and pullover is definitely a primary exercise for him. And he had mentioned how when he's bench pressing well, he knows he has the tightness in his shoulder, but he actually likes that. He said he knows that as long as he still has mobility in it, that tightness there is going to give him the extra pop. So bench pressing, that's a very elite level athlete, and it's definitely helping him out. As far as speed and agility do's and don'ts for the young athlete, you want to make sure everything's got to be full recovery. It's got to be purely alactic or purely aerobic. Charlie Francis talked about how a 100-meter race, for an 8 or 9-year-old kid, the kid who's the best 100-meter runner when they're 8 or 9 is going to turn out to be the best 400 or 800 runner down the road, because so much of the 100 for a young kid like that is speed endurance. So, if you look at the race patterning for an elite level sprinter, they're going to accelerate out to 60, maintain from 60 to 80, and then it's all speed endurance from 80 to the finish, trying to avoid decelerating. But for a young kid, they're maybe going to accelerate to 25 or 30, and then have a very short top speed section, and then they're going to have 50 plus meters of speed endurance. So you don't want to be training speed endurance with a young kid. You want to be training alactic power and alactic capacity and aerobic capacity. So the absolute longest sprint work I would go with really anyone maybe before high school is out to 30 meters. There's a lot of talk about like a lot of coaches that use ladders and stuff. I think ladders are that's the only time that I would advocate the use of a ladder would be for younger athletes and just developing general coordination skills. But I think the more open chain exercise or drill you could do where they're reacting, to your either visual or verbal cue is going to be a lot more effective than having them do cone drills or ladder drills. Just young kid, they have a lot of time to improve, so don't worry about the volume. Then it's got to be real high quality work. A lot of med ball throws, a lot of body weight drills. Strengthening the posterior chain and that postural strength for them to be able to hold proper sprinting positions through push-ups, back extensions, reverse hypers, like manual resisted reverse hypers, and pull-ups, chin-ups, all that kind of stuff. Tons of ab work, and make sure you make it fun for them, because if not 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old kids aren't having fun with training, they're not going to want to train when they're 16, 17, 18, on into their 20s when, the competition is going to be much more valuable to them.